Good evening, Black people and all allies fighting for Black liberation, Black prosperity, and Black joy. I'm Charles Blow, and welcome to Prime. President Biden met with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Joe Manchin at his home in Delaware yesterday. The trio game planned Biden's spending package and whether or not Congress could pass it before the president heads overseas this weekend to convene with world leaders for summits on the economy and climate change. The White House called the meetings productive discussions on new taxes for billionaires and big corporations to help pay for the spending bill. But noticeably absent from the group's discussion was the very pressing matter of voting rights. Since the GOP's unequivocal assault on voting rights across the country, and since Senate Republicans filibustered Democrats' latest attempts at a voting rights bill for the third time last week, there has been little urgency from Biden on the very issue he called the greatest threat to democracy since the Civil War. During a CNN town hall on Thursday, Biden broke the months-long decorum of beating around the bush and expressed openness to altering the filibuster rule to pass voting rights legislation, which he did with much trepidation.
Are you saying once you get this current agenda passed on spending and social programs, that you would be open to fundamentally altering the filibuster or doing away with it? Or doing away with it?
Well, that remains to be seen. Exactly what that means in terms of fundamentally altering it, whether or not we just end the filibuster straight up. There are certain things that are just sacred rights. One's a sacred obligation that we never going to renege on a debt. We're the only nation in the world. We have never, ever reneged on a single debt.
But when it comes to voting rights
is equally as consequential.
CNN's Anderson Cooper continued to press Biden on the issue, receiving no definitive answer.
When it comes to voting rights, just so I'm clear, though, you would entertain the notion of doing away with the filibuster on that one issue? Is that correct?
And maybe more.
And maybe other issues.
The White House said on Friday that Americans should stay tuned about what concrete actions Biden is willing to take on the filibuster in the coming weeks. Joining me now to discuss is Ezra Levin, co-founder and co-executive director of Indivisible, and Don Calloway, founder of the National Voter Protection Action Fund. So, Ezra, what do you make of Biden's beating around the bush on this issue of the filibuster?
Look, Charles, I believe last time we talked, I said that I thought there was a pathway to victory on the democracy reform bill, and that pathway had to first go through this Build Back Better agenda, this reconciliation fight, and only after that fight was over would we possibly see Joe Biden actually join this fight to change the filibuster and get a vote on the democracy reform bill. What we heard last week is Joe Biden believes that's the path to victory too. Was it enough? Is it everything we want to see? Absolutely not. Is it months too late? Damn right it is. But at least he is out there saying, yeah, I am for changing the filibuster when it comes to this democracy bill, and I'm going to tackle that once we're done with my economic agenda. Now, I don't think we're done pushing. I don't think we should go celebrating yet, but it is a sign that he believes we're on the same path that we hope we were on. So let's keep on pushing. Let's keep on demanding that he get out there. But it made me optimistic fundamentally.
So, Don, Biden says that if he were to join the filibuster debate right now, he would lose 3 votes immediately on his economic agenda. So I guess he's going to wait until after the economic agenda is passed. But what makes him believe that those 3 votes are going to change their minds, or one of them or 2 of them will change their minds on this issue about the filibuster after the budget bill is passed?
You're absolutely right in pointing out the bigger picture here, Charles, that justice delayed is justice denied. And fundamentally, we all understand the importance of passing the economic package. We understand the importance not only to Biden's political agenda, but to everyday Americans' lives who need continuations of the child tax credit, who need the continuations on rental assistance and mortgage assistance, and all of the kitchen table issues that this bill provides. But we have to understand that the most basic right, the right that opens the doorway to everything else that we need to make progress on, from gun reform to climate action to police reform, all of that emanates from a universe of voting rights. So I'm glad to see Biden finally come around to being willing to even talk about letting go of the filibuster. But the interesting thing here is that, surprise, that has nothing to do with Joe Biden's jurisdiction. Perhaps it did 14 years ago when he was a leader in the United States Senate, but he's not now. And the way that the Senate is structured, it's essentially like 100 independent kings and queens. And we've seen that very, very starkly in the last 6 months with Manchinima and both of their shenanigans. So why Joe Biden feels like he can have some type of effect other than the bully pulpit on getting rid of the filibuster, it really does. I mean, he could have made a stronger statement, but even if he did, I really wouldn't have a whole lot of confidence in his ability, even if he had the desire to fundamentally take away the filibuster. But he is right in that he's finally starting to recognize that voting rights are the rights that reign supreme here, and they're just as important as an economic agenda.
So Ezra, even if Manchin were to change his mind or agree to some sort of carve out or go for a talking filibuster or whatever the case may be, it doesn't mean that Kristen Sinema will do it. And there are a handful of other Democratic lawmakers who are also a little leery about changing filibuster rules, but they just haven't had to be vocal about it because all the fire has been going Manchin's way, and they like it that way. They don't want to be the person taking the fire, but they also are very uncomfortable with the idea of changing filibuster rules. How sure are you that we will be able to summit that mountain when it arrives after this budget deal is voted on?
How sure am I that Congress is going to do its job? It's Congress. We can't be sure it's going to do its job. I do not trust them to do anything. Doesn't matter who you've elected. The way that Congress actually gets stuff done is they feel the heat, they feel the pressure. And you are absolutely right. This is not just Joe Manchin. This is not just Kyrsten Sinema. This is Carper and Coons in Delaware. This is Hickenlooper and Bennett in Colorado. This is Dianne Feinstein in California. We need to put overwhelming pressure on whoever your representative or senator is and tell them, hey, if you are not out there every single day talking about how exactly what Don said, this is the issue. We've got to get this done. Talk to me later about roads and bridges, but I need you to get this democracy reform bill done, because if you do not protect our right to vote, nothing else matters. We need constituents putting pressure on all senators, on all representatives immediately. As we go into this end game on reconciliation and the economic package, we need Congress feeling the heat. Am I certain then they're going to act? Charles, absolutely not. I'm not certain. I can't tell you that we are absolutely going to do this, that it's in the bag. But what I can say, exactly what you were saying earlier, what Don was saying earlier, this is one of the greatest crises our republic has faced since the Civil War. So the consequences of failure are so catastrophic that we cannot accept failure. We have got to push with everything we've got, because even if it's not a sure thing, the fact that we don't know whether or not we're going to win means that what we do in this moment is so important. This is not something that we just sit back and hope that Biden's going to do what Biden's got to do, or that Joe Manchin's going to do what Joe Manchin's going to do, or Dianne Feinstein's going to do what Dianne Feinstein's going to do. This is a chance right now for all of us to be part of history, to tell our representatives, to tell our senators, you represent us. And this is a moment where your history is being written and the country's history is being written, and we need you to represent us.
So, Don, some of the people who say they're open to changing the filibuster are not talking about getting rid of it, and they're not even talking about carving out the bills around elections out of the filibuster. They're really talking about changing the way the filibuster is performed. Things like having a talking filibuster, or diminishing time as you talk, or some mechanism like that. Do you think a mechanism like that would be effective in this case?
No, it doesn't. We're talking about whether or not black people are going to have the right to vote. And history instructs us that people are willing to go to no ends to make sure that that does not happen. From January 6th to the historical precedent of Strom Thurmond's almost 24-hour performance, and going through all these machinations to use the restroom while standing. there are people who will figure out how to do this. Rand Paul will do this. Ted Cruz will do this back to back if necessary. And there's a reason that the filibuster is an actual tool that can grind the Senate legislative process to a halt. Of course, it may be fun and high political theater to watch these Republican senators actually have to carry out a filibuster, but they will find a way to do it. They will find a way to team up to do it using archaic and inane Senate rules. And as long as they can get a parliamentarian to hear them out on their case, they can potentially extend their filibuster and deny Americans the right to vote up and until, and hold up the process long enough that states will not be able to comply with the changes that might come from voting and democracy reform. So this is a very real thing, and I trust not at all that Republicans will not find it within them the diabolical wits to find a way to execute on this. So you're right, Charles, that making the filibuster a talking filibuster or fudging around with the actual time that a person is allowed to occupy the floor doesn't solve the problem here. Only eliminating, abolishing the filibuster actually solves the problem here. Because right now, they can filibuster essentially by threatening to do so. But just making them carry out that threat doesn't make the filibuster any less real.
Ezra, I have about 30 seconds here left. I just want to get your sense of timetable now. Let's assume that they vote on the spending bills this week, whichever way it goes. How much time do you think will take in the discussions about voting rights, and will there be enough time?
Look, we're running out of time. The number one enemy right now is time. The gerrymandered maps coming out of GOP states are being passed into law. And if those are passed into law, good luck in 2022. So, look, I agree with Don. If the Republicans are given any ability to talk this bill to death, they won't just do it. They'll fundraise off of it. They are dying to do that. So we need to act quickly. If we finish up this reconciliation, this economic package in the next week or two, immediately, Congress needs to turn to the voting bill, amend the filibuster, and get it done so we can actually protect and secure the 2022 and 2024 elections.
Ezra Levin and Don Calloway, thank you both for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it.